chocolate whey protein.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of controversy over chocolate having a lot more lead in it than vanilla. Is that true?
1,000%.
Why is that?
Because cocoa naturally has lead in it.
So
just like plant protein has a lot more heavy metals than non-plant protein, because when you take a bunch of plants and you consolidate them down, plants have heavy metals, right? And it just naturally, it has more heavy metal, right?
So then you should be very, very, very stringent on, I mean, people like a consumer like me who like chocolate, like to me, that's why I would use Momentous over another brand, because automatically I know that chocolate probably has way more lead.
Yeah.
So you'd want to have a company that you know would be stringent on their...
100%.
We have Jeff Byers, who's on the podcast today. Jeff is the co-founder and CEO of Momentous, which is my favorite supplement line. And I'm not just saying that because he's sitting across from me. I'm saying this because they are one of the top dogs for good reason. They are super, super diligent. They're very stringent on their certifications for their products. I trust them. I trust you. And so we're going to have a whole conversation here on supplements, optimization, human performance, all the good stuff. So anyway, Jeff, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, super excited.
I mean, this has been a long time coming. I think this has been like a year and a half or something that we're like, hey, why don't you come on the podcast?
Yeah.
And finally, well, here you are.
You need the stars to align with scheduling and the craziness that is life. And
I know.
I'm glad I'm here.
Well, you don't live here. Like you live here, you don't live here at all. But how often do you come to LA?
A lot.
A lot.
But it's just like I've had a couple bigger gaps than I normally have in LA.
I wasn't a priority. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm not offended. I understand. You have a company to run, a big one.
Yeah.
And it's grown. Like, how big is it now?
We'll do 100+ million this year in revenue.
Wow. Okay, we're going to get into all of this stuff because you guys are, I think, just doing everything right. Before we just kind of go into that, can you just kind of give like a backstory of who you are? How did you kind of get into the supplement space? Because your story is pretty phenomenal, in my opinion. That's when we met. You told me your whole backstory.
Yeah.
So can you just give my audience a little bit of like who you are and why you kind of are doing this?
Yeah. Well, first, I never wanted to be a supplement company CEO. That was not my dream, was not on my bingo card, which is what all the cool kids are saying now.
Right.
But like my background, I went to school at USC here in LA, but really uniquely, I was one of the top recruited high school athletes. I played football. I was a 2-time captain during USC's heyday. I was an offensive lineman many, many pounds ago. But I had a really unique journey in college. My true freshman year, I started as a freshman on a national championship team. And the last game of the season, I just destroyed my hip. And I ended up having 2 hip surgeries post that and was told I was never going to really play football again, or it was going to be a big struggle. And every athlete has some transition point in their career of like aha moment. And it's really hard, right? It's hard to transition out of athletics or elite military service or whatever that may be. I just had that thrust on me when I was 19 and like started mentally planning for it. So I missed my entire second year because of 2 hip surgeries, but I ended up getting on track to graduate undergrad in 3 years. Anyways, fought to come back. My 3rd year, I had 2 back surgeries, right? So I missed my 2nd and 3rd year because of injury. And I was just like, the hardest part about transitioning out of sport or military is you let sport define you, right? Because it's everything to you. And you have to realize when you transition out of sport, it's like the sport never defined me. It was a part of me. I defined me. I get to choose who I am. Mm-hmm. And that's a hard process. I got to do it when I was super young and it actually came back. Football came back to me. So I ended up playing my last 3 years at USC. I was a 2-time captain. I got my master's in business. And then
that's also very unique, right? Like usually if you're an athlete, you not to be like, not to like paint everybody with the same brush, but the fact that you got like an MBA from a very hard school, plus you were the athlete.
But I would never have done it if I didn't get hurt, right? I had this aha moment, this inflection point in my life that was like, football defines me, what I'm going to do without it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I'm lucky, I'm very blessed to have a great family. My dad was like, nobody feels sorry for you. You're getting a free scholarship, right? To go to top, figure it out. right?
I love that. I thought your dad was also, he's also very successful. I don't remember what he does though.
My dad's been in the meat industry
The
most
meat.
of his most of his career. He's worked for Hormel and a company called JBS, and he's retired. But like, really successful leader, has managed
Yeah.
big companies, way big. Like, it's so funny. Like everybody's, oh, your dad must have great advice. I'm like, my dad managed like 100,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
like an $18 billion P&L, where
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm rubbing pennies together.
Right. But you still would think that's so funny you say that, because my question was going to be like, you must have learned some type of leadership going into now being a CEO of a company that's, by the way, $100 million plus. Like, did you get any leadership?
Oh, yes. My dad and
Advice?
Pete Carroll have been the most influential people in my lives.
Okay.
Right. From
Yeah,
a
wow.
leadership, management, how you handle people, right? Vision and all of that. It's just, it's not always that. Like, when I think about leadership and I think about what I saw from Pete Carroll as like one of the best NFL and college coaches of all time, it's not apples to apples to Momentous.
Right.
But there's so many similarities.
Yeah.
Like, you're in the same category, but it just, not everything applies. Like, how you manage athletes and hold them accountable is actually, can't do that in a real workforce, because a locker room culture, when you sleep together, eat together, play together,
Yeah.
work together, you have different bonds and you can challenge people and have different conversations
For sure.
more bluntly than you can with, a director of sales or marketing or ops or whatever it is.
Well, especially in today's time right now, right? It's become much more difficult to do. You got to be much more mindful and PC.
See, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Which is hard for me at times.
Yeah, I know, me too.
So anyways, so I went to USC, graduated got my MBA, and had a really cool opportunity to play in the NFL. I played 4 years in the NFL. I practiced for the Seahawks and the Broncos, and then I played for the Panthers. I also practiced a lot for the Panthers. But I really got to start a handful of games for the Panthers, and was a backup offensive lineman, and it was a ton of fun. Like, I, like many kids,
Right.
dreamt of being a professional, right? Whether you wanted to be a musician, an actor, or an athlete, I dreamt it, and I'm one of the very few, and I realize how lucky I am to like have the ability, because there is some genetics at play. Like, yes, you like I had to be 6'4" and 310.
Right.
Like if I wasn't 6'4" or 310, I could have never have played in the NFL.
Right.
If I was 5'5", 310, I would never have played in the NFL.
Right.
So I lots of stars aligned.
How much would you say is genetics versus work ethic and practice and all the other things?
You have to be in the zone from a genetic standpoint. There's no shape or form. You can't
in any sport, right?
Not in any sport. For like every position, for example, every position you have to be in a zone, right? Like you have to have some unique characteristics.
Right.
There's a lot of people that fall into those unique characteristics, right? And then you have to be lucky enough to have grown up in a household or in an environment that allows you to play and succeed, and that can fuel that passion. And then number two is you have to be lucky enough to not have major injuries or whatever, right? Like, I mean, if you back up, like that household is about socioeconomics, and it's about opportunity, and it's about gear, it's about the right location, high school, all those things, right? Number three is like, you just don't get hurt in the wrong times. And then number four is like, if you do not work your ass off and you are not mentally tough, you will never be great. You will never make it to the NFL. You will likely never make it to a collegiate level, because you get punched in the face, air quote, every single day. You get challenged. You get like, it is really, really hard. And you have to, like, one of my favorite quotes from a coach is like, you have to learn to love to be uncomfortable, because you suffer and you suffer and you suffer. And sports unique is because you have this really grueling, high pressure stakes that, right, a lot of people depend on you, but also like the fatigue and the injury rate is like, you just play hurt. You just learn to, like, you're like, pain, normal, right? And you just learn to go through things that most people can't imagine. So there's a lot of mindset and effort at play. And like, if you don't work hard, you do not get there. There are some freaks, some massive freaks that, might not have to work as hard as others, but they're very, very, very few far in between. And when you have like genetics, opportunity, and hard work, all and everything kind of goes right, that's the Hall of Famer.
That's 100%. You know, I'm so glad that you mentioned something because you don't hear that so often, which is such a big piece of it, which is the opportunity within your family, because people are not taking sometimes into account the gear is expensive, right? Having someone to like take you from practice to practice, like getting there,
Yes.
having like a supportive family, the socioeconomic piece to a lot of these athletes that I know even, they were able to even like self-actualize to be who they are because they had a family that allowed them to do that.
100%.
And people don't think about that. The other thing that you said was very interesting. And when I found out, when I met you and you were like, someone was saying, oh yeah, he was a professional athlete, blah, blah, blah. Now he's a founder. Like it didn't surprise me because part of what I do is I talk to some of the most successful, CEOs, founders, people in the world. And one thing, the through line that I always hear from people, like on the show, much more even off the show, is what they look for in an employee or someone to work with is somebody who played sports seriously, like played like D-level sports or played something
Yeah.
like you, because you already are halfway there, which is like the mental mindset of, not just the team building and all that, but like grinding, practice, long hours, hard work,
Yeah.
like consistency, like having to go on and
Yeah.
on and on. Like those things, like when you were an athlete like you were, those are fundamental life skills that
Yeah.
will serve you so well
Yep.
in profession.
And you
Right?
have to be coachable.
And
Right.
coachable.
And that
That's right.
coachability in business, like
That's a
it's
great
like
point.
coachable curiosity. It's like you have to be willing to seek discomfort and seek advice to go further. Right?
That's
It's
so
like,
true.
and it's hard to get outside. I mean, I do like sports, music, like the arts have some of that in there too. Cause like you can't be great at music if you aren't coachable, right? If you're not curious on how do you push the limits. And there's a lot of times when it's like, I mean, some of my extended family are incredible musicians. Like there's a lot of times you get to make a choice. Do I play an instrument? Do I practice or do I go hang out with my friends?
100%.
Right? And to make hard decisions on to be great, right? It's not fun. That's not fun, right? Like not fun in that moment, but when you think about where you could derive joy and what matters. Anyways, it's
No, you're 100.
yeah.
No, that's 100%.
So,
Like life's choices, right? Like
yeah.
if you want to be a great or
Yeah.
a success, you have to be making those choices that like it's not instant gratification, it's
Yeah.
delayed gratification.
Well, it's like that. Like that's so powerful because that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I learned in sport is to be great at anything. Like it's bone crushing consistency, right? It's like what we did in the NFL was not crazy. And like, and how you got there was just like consistent approach time after time after time. And when you do consistency builds, and that's when greatness happens. Health is not a today thing. It's not a tomorrow thing. It's an everyday thing.
Look at Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He was like,
Yeah.
he wasn't even considered a great
Great
player.
athlete. Yeah.
Right. Like, but he was so committed and
Yeah.
such a hard worker and so consistent and stayed on path.
Yeah.
And now look,
And he just did the same things, right? The boring,
Exactly.
mundane,
the
like
boring mundane.
when I think about like training as a professional athlete, like you could do everything, but you did the most important things over and over and over and over again. And that's
Exactly.
how you got great. That's what health, that's with performance for life, that's with whatever you want to do. You want to be a great leader, do the same things over and over and over again, right? Show up for your team. You can't do it one day, do it every day,
100%.
right? And over years and years, you become a great leader.
Was that how? So did you
Yeah.
take these types of like number one skills that you
Yeah.
did? You fostered these by just doing the consistent, mundane, boring things and very like over and over again. But you also said that your dad and Pete, Pete
Yeah.
Carroll, like you learned a couple of things even by watching what they did. What was a one takeaway from Pete Carroll that you take now into your business and from your dad?
I would say from Pete, it's show up the same every day, right? Be predictable about how your energy is and how you show up to your team, right? And the thing that I saw from Pete is whether you win, lost, good, bad, Pete showed up the same. Really passionate, high energy, right? You never questioned if Pete loved what he was doing today. I guarantee you, Pete had a lot of shit days where he had to change, right? And he had to be like, I get to choose how I show up. I'm going to show up differently. So Pete to me really showed me the power of if you show up consistently and you show up with ability to galvanize and bring passion and purpose to what you do, people rally.
Yeah,
Right.
it's true.
But if you do it, sometimes people don't buy in. Right. Like I played for coaches that like sometimes they have high energy, sometimes they MF you, and sometimes they do this and sometimes they do that. And you're like, what am I going to get? I don't know. It's really hard to perform for those people. But when you know this person truly cares, they're really passionate about what we're doing, they love it, they're in all the time. It's not like, are they in? Are they out? Are they pissed? Are they not pissed? Anyways, that was really powerful from Pete. Predictability as a leader and as the head coach. From my dad, I mean, I've learned like my dad is really, really influential on me. Like from my dad is like, people are your greatest asset, but also the hardest thing you do every day, right? Because we're all humans, right? You have to make hard decisions, but you have to do them with compassion as well. And I would say the other thing, like my dad, like, so the people stuff I work a lot with my dad on, like, cause we're all really unique and crazy and weird in our own ways.
And difficult.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like every decision I make potentially has an impact on that person. And if I have an impact on that person, it probably has an impact on somebody else and somebody else.
Right. The ripple effect.
And those things, you can't take them lightly, but you also have to make the right decisions. So the other thing with my dad is like my dad's ability to just work, right? And like effort makes sense. And it's like, it's not a choice, right? Never a choice. It's like you always work hard. And that was like I have a lot of stories about my dad. But like I remember I was in 7th or 8th grade and I was an offensive lineman in 7th or 8th grade too. And it's like Pee Wee football and I was, running down and I kept like making my block and looking back, right? Because I was done. And he was like, you're never done. Like you always go to the whistle blows, regardless if you did your job or not. Right. And I like that effort, that repeated effort of like, doesn't matter where the running back is behind you. Doesn't matter. Like just go, always bust your butt, always work. Whistle blows, take a break, figure out what you did right, figure out what you did wrong, do it again. Right. And those types of lessons are really unique to me because how do you relate them? How do I relate them to business? Like a lot of things relate to business. Like to me, it's just you just have to like, okay. Like one of the examples I give of around like growth stage or entrepreneurship is like the ball always gets snapped. In football, the ball always gets snapped. Doesn't wait for you, doesn't care about you, right? And it doesn't remember if you got beat the last play or you had the best play in the world, the ball gets snapped. And so as a leader, you have to be ready to go at all times. You also have to have a really short memory, but you have to be able to learn from your past mistakes because that's what the ball is going to get snapped. Time is moving forward. You're going to have to make a decision and you don't have time to think about it because the ball gets snapped.
Right. It's like a sense of urgency.
See, it is a sense of urgency.
It's a sense of urgency.
But the short memory, like you just like, you got to forget it. Like how many, like as a business leader, good and bad happens every single day. And I leave a conversation where I'm like, man, that did not go good. Right. Literally in like 3 seconds, I have another meeting that I have to show up differently to. And I can't worry about that being like having a board member that wasn't happy. Right.
That's the worst part.
Ball gets snapped.
Yeah.
Clear and go. Right. And like that to me is like a really, like, it's such an easy one-to-one of like business to sport. And
is that like compartmentalizing?
I don't know if it's compartmentalizing. It's just knowing that there's always another play. And the most important thing to do is win the next play.
Yeah.
Because you can't control what happened in the past, but you have to learn, like quickly analyze what happened, move on. Because like if you got beat and that you let the same thing happen again, and again
That's
and
such a
again,
good point.
you lose your job
Yeah.
as an athlete, right? You get fired. Same in business. If you like my board doesn't care if I make mistakes. What they don't want to see is mistakes be made the same over and over and over again. Mistakes are expected, right? Because we're trying to do it better than it's ever been done before in our business.
Yeah.
And you get some right, you get some wrong. And I also have never done this before. And it's like, I'm trying to break the mold. And it's like, hey, we're okay. Make a mistake. But if you make a mistake and you do it again and do it again, or if you make a mistake and be like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake, what am I going to do? Well, it's like, make another decision, move forward.
And you have a partner as well, right?
Yeah, I have a co-founder, and like we're on year 7 together. Technically year 10. We worked at a biotech together for 3 years.
Yeah.
And she is like, there is no chance that Momentous is what it is, and I am what I am without her. And we've had a really pretty tight relationship of like, we are equals. We'll always be equals from representation on the board, from equity, from compensation. We have different roles in the business, very different roles. She's the president. I'm the CEO. We call it the visionary integrator. And she comes from a very different background than I do. We're
What's
both
her
pros.
background?
She came from McKinsey and Company.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Like,
So she's like super academic.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She must be great with operations.
She is like integrator versus visionary. Like, I get to sell, I get to build, right? The stoke, lead the people. She's awesome at managing people, awesome at process, right? Strategy. I've yet to sit down with somebody who's better at strategy than her. And I've sat down with some really smart people.
Yeah, she must be so smart.
And like, she's also awesome at hiring because she's able to, I think McKinsey trains you to hire really well, but like how she interviews and pull people out. Like, I am a cultural hirer. Like,
yeah,
like I can take that, but it's like, how do you get to technical skills and all, like, just like masterful how she can unpeel people.
That's
in their
amazing.
career. And so what we've always said, like, we started the business based upon our principles. And like, anyways, we were at this biotech together. We didn't work super closely together early on. And then what we realized is we really had similar values, and we cared about things the same. Of like, we really were entrepreneurial. We wanted to, like, the biotech was a jumping off point for both of us. We cared about performance, but we cared about integrity deeply. We cared about like being inclusively, doing it the right way, no matter what. Like, money would come later. And we really, really believed in candor and conflict. Like, coming from the NFL, it's like, you never questioned where you sat at the end of the day. You know if you had a good day or bad day.
Right.
Because somebody told you. And if you didn't know yourself. And like, that amount of direct feedback and having conflict. And she came from McKinsey, which is it's like pro sports business.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of conflict and you never were confused. And so we've been able to turn candor and conflict into our greatest strength together, because we come at problems so differently. Like, just the visionary integrator mindsets are different. How we operate, our personalities are opposite, but we always have the same goal in mind. And we come at problems very differently, and we butt heads, and we have some conflict, and we speak candidly. And the next thing you know, my idea and her idea come together, and it's a different idea. That's the best idea. It happens on people. It's really unique. But the one thing we've always, like, we are able to, like, check your ego, like, right? Like, hey, like, and like, go back and be like, man, I didn't like how I showed up there. Like, my ego got in my way. And it's like, that's really unique in founder relationships.
And you call each other out, basically, and keep each other honest, I think, is the way to put it.
When people see it for the first time, their minds are blown. They're like, what's going on? And then like 3 seconds later, it's like, we're back on the whiteboard figuring out how to solve the problem.
That's amazing.
But it's because we've worked together for so long. And I would say it's also because, like, Erica's like one of my great friends, but we don't hang out. Like, it's really weird.
Yeah, no,
like,
I get it.
Like, it's like we work together like 60 hours a week. And it's like, anyways, we had an offsite down in southern Utah, and her and I drove back together. And we were in the car for like 5 hours. It was like the first time in a really long time that we like talked about non-business stuff for more than 10 minutes.
Wow.
Right? Like,
okay.
Just like, because like when we're together, we're solving problems.
Right,
We're
right,
dealing with
right.
team stuff because there's always a problem. There's always a personnel. There's always a new hire. There's always some challenge. And so
Totally.
it's like, like her husband's a big mountain skier and travels the world. And like, I've got 3 boys and like, like what is Bethany up to? What is so-and-so doing? And it's like, we just like talked and I was like, holy cow, like we haven't talked about our personal lives this much in a really long time. And it was like really kind of nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But unless we were trapped in a car with me driving, right? And no cell service because we're in
Right.
Southern Utah, like she would have been working, I would have been working, it's like we sit on airplanes together all the time and we just work.
And you just work.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it works though, right? Because you guys like yin and yang, right?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
you guys have like different skill
Yeah.
sets.
Yeah.
So okay, so then now you're at the biotech, and now
Yeah.
you guys, like, how did you guys say, okay, now I'm going to start a supplement company that has like really like at the highest level in terms of quality and like how did that happen?
So Eric and I never dreamt of being a supplement company,
Right.
founders, CEOs, whatever we are. In 2018, we spun out of this biotech and we spun a technology out of it. So we spent 3 years together at biotech, and what the biotech was developing was a transdermal drug delivery technology. So how do you get drugs through the skin? And one of the reasons why they brought me on as employee 4 was because they had an idea to use it in sport, right? And
Oh,
deliver non-drugs through the skin.
okay.
And that was really interesting.
Was it like patches and stuff?
No, it's like a lotion cream.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, in early 2018, they were starting phase 2 clinical trials on a couple medical products. And we had this really cool product that was starting to get a little traction. We had early data on, but we were working with Tour de France champions, marathon world record holders, the Department of Defense, pro football teams. So the technology was able to deliver sodium bicarbonate. Sodium bicarbonate's baking soda, but bicarbonate is a buffer. It means it helps control acidity. And in our bodies, when we train really, really hard or really, really long, you produce acid, hydrogen ions. So lactic acid is what we typically refer to it as. When those hydrogen ions build up in your muscle, it's your limiting factor to go harder or to go longer, right? Because our body's natural ability to buffer is not there. So anyways, by being able to change and regulate the pH of the muscle, you can actually push a little harder and push a little longer, right? Which has really awesome sport implications, and really awesome special forces implications and all these other things,
Yeah.
right? So it got really crazy traction in those spaces. But we were at this biotech that was starting FDA clinical trials, phase 2 to like, not the same consumer, like we were like a consumer biotech. We had this cool product. We were doing clinical research. We were like running and gunning, working with the craziest places I could ever imagine, from my past life. And the biotech was like, we're going to clinical trials, like totally 2 different mentalities. And so the biotech started to slow down,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
In the right ways, how it normally does. And I was doing this really cool passion project in here within the biotech. And Erica was like, I want to help you with this. Like, this is fast and this is fun. But we were at this crossroads. What do we do with this product, this like unique application of it? I was like, well, can't live within the biotech because we're starting to like building inventory does not relate to a biotech company,
Right.
That's pre-commercial. That's in phase 2 clinical trials, or a marketing team or any of that. Can't really sell it because we didn't have enough sales traction or enough data. And I was like, maybe we spin it out. And so Eric and I basically just negotiated with our employers. She was employee 2, I was employee 4, to spin out the rights to that technology and create a company around it. So in middle of 2018, we started the underlying entity behind Momentous, which is called AmpHuman. And what's super cool with that is we weren't a supplement company, right? Like that's why are in the unique place that we're in. And we wanted to create, like the first pitch deck was like the next great high performance company. It was literally what was like.
So
on
that
the
was
front
kind of
side.
that was what you wanted to do. You wanted to create the next best high
Performance company.
Like who? Like give me an example of who you were looking at to emulate if you had to pick one.
I don't know.
Okay.
right? Sounded really cool.
Yeah. It just sounded good.
Right.
Yeah.
But what we were doing with PR lotion had never been done before. Right. And we were doing clinical research and we were in all these unique places. And what I saw at the time was like, we have all this crazy access. We're doing something really unique. What if we brought other technologies in and other products in because we have the access, right? And then we could bring them to the consumer space and like think high performance in consumer, which was really interesting. Didn't know what the hell I was doing or I was talking about other than we had a really cool product and it thrust us into these unique places. And so but from day one, we knew that AMP HP was not just this one product. We thought the product was going to be really big. Turns out it's incredibly niche because how you work out and how I work out, maybe once or twice a month, maybe. Do we work out hard enough or long enough where PR lotion can actually have an impact? And it's not really pretty. It's kind of nasty. Like you got to be hardcore. And it's still a product in our portfolio.
Really?
Yeah. And
like
it's
Navy SEALs use it,
we
or
had some really cool traction in some of those unique places. And so our first funding was from venture capital and the Department of Defense. So we won a $1.6 million innovation contract with the DoD through Special Forces
for that one
for
product.
that product.
And then what happened?
We did a lot more clinical research and it helped get us going, right? And the product built ultimately into about a $3 million SKU, $3 million product. But throughout that time, we tried to like acquire new technologies or like where else do we go? But we had this scientific advisory board because PR Lotion was doing something really unique. We had like the best sports scientists and all these crazy people involved of like, oh, what if we could do X? What if we could do Y? What if we could do Z? But that really high performance space is so out of reach for most people of what we learned.
So then you thought, okay, let me just be more for the people, right?
Well, my board was like, you should go do sports nutrition. And I was like, hell no.
Really?
Yo, I fought it. We fought it so hard. I remember sitting in a board meeting. We had a board meeting in San Francisco, and it was like on the like roadmap of what's possible. It was like 50th supplements, right? And they're like, well, what about this? This is awesome. Like this is fast, big market. And I was like, we are a consumer biotech company. We do clinical research. We're funded by the federal government. I am not launching a protein. Like never, right? Like, and part of it, like I go back and ultimately I had a mentor friend challenge me and like made me realize the board is right. But it was the industry is so messy, so dirty, unregulated. My ego said, you don't want to be a supplement company. You don't look up to anybody.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
like, I want to be that person. I wanted to be I wanted to be a disruptor, a different, like do it better than it's ever been done before. Like I wanted to challenge and all that. And like what I saw in supplements was marketing, not brands that I loved and not great products. Right. Like
That's the scary thing, actually, that people don't recognize. Like a lot of the brands that do the best is because they have really good branding and really good marketing, but their actual products are really terrible.
it's not built on the fundamental base of quality or doing what's right for the customer, the consumer. And so for me, I just like, I use a lot of supplements and sports nutrition. Like I probably had $1 million purchased for me or on my behalf over my sports career. Like you just do like, since high school, I've been taking protein shakes and weight gainer and creatine and you name it, right? Like
what brands were you using back then?
Back in the day, Metrics.
Right.
I mean, like there wasn't many. I'm trying to think of like, what was the weight gainer I used to take? Oh man, it was bad. But like, there's just so many things out there. It's like, Gatorade's a supplement, like it's sports nutrition.
Yeah,
like,
I guess so.
Right? Like it's not used like that anymore. It's now which is part of its problem. And if like, we can get into that whole unhealthiness of America. But I realized, right, that there are really, really high quality, there are companies that make high quality products, super high quality products. They aren't brands. They're companies. Like when I think of a brand inspires you. They motivate you. You put a hat on of that brand,
Yeah.
right? Because you feel something for them. The really great product companies felt like Amgen or Pfizer.
Yeah.
They felt
Clinical.
so far removed
Totally.
that they weren't here to help me be better. But those are the companies I used because those are the companies that got recommended to me when I was in the NFL.
Right.
Because of the quality. But I didn't it's not a brand. It's not like a brand evokes an emotional response.
Yeah.
Right. And that they might have a brand name, but they're not really a brand.
So you wanted to do it better than anybody else.
So I wanted to bring quality and brand together. Right. And I wanted to do it differently because ultimately I don't believe supplements are the fix. Like our company doesn't. So when I look at the market, it's so noisy. Like, what do I take? Why do I take it? How do I take it? All that BS. And then it's like, is it actually good? Right? Don't know. And are they helping me?
That's the problem. Nobody really knows.
And so it's like this. There's a quality. So how do we build the best, highest quality products we can? How do we bring knowledge and help educate people and be their partner on their journey for performance?
Right.
For life, not performance for just sport, performance for life. And then how do we actually create a really, really highly curated product portfolio that gets people in the right products at the right time, but also not have the wrong products in there. And so that's super important to me. The curated portfolio, the knowledge and the quality all together create a really differentiated brand that can create and drive impact.
Well, how do you even know because you just said it, it's such a noisy space. Like the supplement space is a $1 trillion industry now,
200
almost.
billion. It's really big.
It's getting bigger by the day. I mean, and if you're watching social media, every second video is about a product, like a supplement of some kind. People don't know what to take
or why.
And the other major is if it's even a quality supplement. That's the problem.
I think you're exactly right. We're bombarded with noise, right? Everybody's got something. Why? Because there's no barriers to entry in our category. You and I could start a supplement company tomorrow.
Now, I know. And we could put baking soda in it.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want, right? Which is scary. So this is part of why I didn't want to be a supplement company. Anyways, so we started to think about building it ourselves. Once I realized there's opportunity here to do it better than it's been done before. What
was your first product?
Well, we started building a protein powder. We started building, bless you.
Thank you.
We started building a hydration product, a fuel product, and a recovery product. We started building that.
Right. And that was what was it? The hydration one what was it called?
It was called Hydrate. We don't have it.
You don't have it anymore.
And so this will get fun. What I realized was it was really easy to build a supplement company.
Really?
Really hard to do it right. From a money perspective, really expensive. Takes a lot of time from a sourcing perspective. And it's the industry's almost set up to not allow new brands to do quality and to do certifications because it's so cost prohibitive, right? To find those things out. Example, we use NSF Certified for Sport. It's the top, I believe it's the top certification that you can possibly get because it not only tests for all banned substances, AKA bad shit, it also does label claim accuracy, right? So everything that's on the label, if it says 20 grams of protein, it has to test within spec. If it says 40 milligrams of sodium, it has to have 40 milligrams of sodium. If it doesn't, you fail, it can't go to market. So number one, failure of productions happen in my business. And when they fail, they never go to market, right? That is one challenge. When you're a young company and you don't have product, it's real hard to make money. And it's real hard to dumpster one. It's also really hard to tell a manufacturer, hey, if we fail, that's on you. You're going to eat it. When you have no leg to stand on.
Leverage.
Number two is we pay per production run on NSF. And cost doesn't matter if you're big, small. And when you're early on, you say, hey, we're doing a production run of 1,000 units. And 1,000 units back in the day was a lot of money for us.
Yeah.
Right. And the cost of NSF on 1,000 versus 100,000 is the same. To put it in perspective, today,
How much would it cost?
today we spend, last year we spent about 1.6% of our top line revenue, of our revenue, total revenue, on post-production certifications.
Wow.
And that number used to be double, triple, quadruple that. And that just takes straight out the bottom line. Because guess what? If you don't, like, we could have had a certification that cost us $100. NSF,
Is that what most, how do you, so basically most companies might have those certification.
there are great companies out there that certify NSF, certify for sport. Inform Sport's a great one.
So
USP.
then, wait. So
Yeah.
the ones that people should be looking for is this NSF, number
NSF,
one.
to me, my belief is NSF certified for sport, right?
Okay.
And I hate the name, but it's the because sport implies it's only for athletes, but it's the highest testing that NSF does.
Okay.
Because it's like every other test, you have to pass every other one of their qualifications to get certified for sport.
Really? So that's the top.
That is the top, in my opinion. USP does a nice one where it does label claim accuracy on that, but it's not testing. Like NSF certified for sport is the only thing that professional teams can give their athletes. If it doesn't have that logo, they will not give it to their athletes because the risk of cross contamination is too high, or what they say, what is on the label is not actually in it, is also practical. Like nobody wants to have a label that says 20 grams of something and have 12. That happens in our industry quite often.
A lot, probably.
Yep.
And then wait, so is there, so you're saying there's times when like you paid for this NSF certification, like for a run of 1,000, and it came back and it wasn't accurate or wasn't good, and then
we call it failing NSF. Well, I mean, so there's lots of points that our standards are such that we can you can fail inbound specs of ingredients where they don't meet potency or cleanliness, or they have too high of a heavy metal that don't fall into our specs. Like our specs and our standards are super high. So an example, we have a product called Brain Drive. It's a nootropic. We failed spec of it. And we could have gone like no law against continuing to produce it, nothing, right? Because we failed spec, we are now going to go out of stock because the most recent production run doesn't meet our standards, right? And because of that, we just took it off the website. We have 14 days left to serve our subscribers of the product that passed spec, the last production run. And now we have to start production all over. We have to source all new ingredients. We have to make sure they pass spec. And we're going to be out of stock for 2.5, 3 months, which will cost our business a couple $100,000, right? But
Wow.
we do that because that's our standards. And we don't require, we don't tell those stories, but that's my goal, right? That's my goal, is how do we tell those stories better? Because I believe, like, again, our industry is $200 billion.
So are you saying that like most companies, like they would come back, let's just say some people, we don't know who, we're not mentioning names, and nobody really knows, right? It could be a brand that someone's using, and like, a batch comes back and they failed whatever inspection, and most companies will maybe just be like, okay, anyway, we have like all these orders to fulfill. We're going to sell it anyway.
There is no laws, no rules.
Right. And it's not like you're going to die from it. It's not poison. It's just not giving you what you bought.
You expect. Likely.
Yeah.
I would also say not very many, like the amount of manufacturers that comply with NSF certification are pretty tight because their standards are so tight. Like NSF does audits of the facility. They require certain separation of ingredients and all these things. So cross-contaminate, they require certain cleaning mechanisms.
So some people won't even apply for it. Yeah.
I mean, most people don't even do it,
yeah,
right? Because A, it's expensive, and from a manufacturing perspective, it's just another cost for them. And so I would say people wouldn't even know, like our standards, a lot of people would never even know their products out of spec because they don't do the testing that we do, both inbound and post. And so an example, like an NSF, last year, in 2023, we failed a production run of vitamin D, right? From NSF. It had it somewhere got cross-contaminated, whether it was in the supply chain, whether it was in the warehouse. We don't know where it was. It failed NSF, right? And so that product completed in its packaging, waiting to clear quarantine. Forklifts go in, pick that packaging up, drop it in a dumpster. Because it failed NSF, it failed because it had banned substance cross-contamination.
What did it have? What could it have been?
Anything, right? Again, when you think about...
Give me an example. What could be
DHEA is a banned substance, right? It's
right.
like testosterone, growth hormone, etc.
So what did it fail in?
It failed in banned substances. I don't like one of the ingredients. It had enough amounts where we couldn't, like, NSF wouldn't pass it. Nothing to say you can't have that in your product, but we can't but it couldn't pass it because it was like the ingredient was bad. It was not enough. It was too. It could be anything. It was vitamin D. Vitamin D is vitamin D.
Yeah.
Right. So somewhere along the supply chain, right?
Something went awry.
Something went awry. Right.
And you don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is. Honestly doesn't matter. But what we did is you put tighter parameters on the supply chain. Okay. You're not allowed to store our products next to anything on this list. You're not allowed to ship with anything on this list. You're not allowed to so we just we caught that, and now guess what? But that there
how much of that did it cost you to throw that away?
The only good thing is vitamin D is not super expensive. I don't know. Some dollars. Some dollars with commas in them.
And that happens often?
We fail every once in a while.
But it doesn't matter to the consumer because you're not going to be giving it to them anyway.
Yeah, but that's the purpose.
Yeah. Wow.
You should fail. In our industry, you should fail spec. And so then there's other things where it's corrective action. So for a protein, if we fall out of spec of the sodium on the protein, right? We technically fail NSF. What's required for us to do is to change the label. To if it says 40 milligrams of sodium and we had 60, we have to change the label to 60. Right. And so it requires transparency, which is really important. Again, if we didn't do NSF certification post, you would never know.
Is this what is that? Because, you're known as you have third party
certified.
Third party certification.
That is NSF.
Is that NSF?
That is NSF.
Okay.
So NSF is one, Informed Sports another, USP is another. All really good. All have their differences. I've backed the boat up to NSF. It's also the most expensive, which hurts my soul. But
how much more expensive?
A lot.
Give me an example.
4x.
Wow, that's a lot more for a company to spend. Wow.
Which is but it's the most comprehensive, and if you have standards, price doesn't matter.
Okay, but listen, let me ask you. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Chocolate whey protein.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of controversy over chocolate having a lot more lead in it than vanilla. Is that true?
1,000%.
Why is that?
Because cocoa naturally has lead in it.
So
it's just plant protein has a lot more heavy metals than non-plant protein. Because when you take a bunch of plants and you consolidate them down, plants have heavy metals in them, right? And it just naturally, it has more heavy metal, right?
So then you should be very, very, very stringent on, people like a consumer like me who like chocolate, to me, that's why I would use Momentous over another brand, because automatically I know that chocolate probably has way more lead.
Yeah.
So you'd want to have a company that would be stringent on their
100%.
On their
100%. NSF, you have to fall below thresholds on all heavy metal testing, on all that. So it's really important. But essentially, you think any chocolate, anything with cocoa in it is gonna have heavy metals. It just is what it is. More than non-chocolate. And then plant proteins are always going to have more heavy metals, just naturally, unavoidable.
So, because I use your whey protein.
Yeah.
Do you even have a plant protein?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't even know.
We have a rice pea, really, really, really good. We just redid it all, and honestly, it was a hard project to make it better. It's really good.
Really?
Yeah.
What is your hero product? What's the most popular product you guys have?
That's a great question. Our hero, this is where our business is super unique. We have no product that makes up more than 10% of sales.
Really?
Yep. And what you see from our consumers is carts, right? We sell carts. And so like, if I would say like, this is one of the things that makes me most happy is I have this philosophy called the Momentous Three. It's like the three most important products that have the most clinical research, that have the biggest impact on performance today and performance tomorrow, forever, right? They're called the Momentous Three. It's creatine, omegas, and protein. Top three SKUs.
Right.
Right. And it's like, they're not sexy. They really aren't. But back to this bone crushing consistency, like you consume enough protein, you're consistent with your omegas, and you take creatine, what the science says is it's going to have long-term implications for lean muscle mass, long-term implications for brain health and connective tissue health and other functions. Like those things matter. Of all the products on the market, like the only other product that has as much research as those things in our category is caffeine.
Right.
Nothing
like
else,
magnesium doesn't even have that much.
Magnesium has great research, but
not as much as creatine.
No, but also when you back up, it's like not everybody, a lot of people are deficient in magnesium, but you should get tested right before you just start randomly taking a magnesium.
Really?
Even
for that?
It's easy. It's easy to get tested. And I don't know. I also had to draw the line. Like how I got to the Momentous Three was everybody asked me, what should I take? And
yes.
And early days, I was like, this is what I take.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not right. That's not helping get people in the right products at the right time. And how did I figure out what I should take? I talked to really smart people and asked them. And they said, what are your challenges? What do you care about? What are you worried about? All of these things. That's how I got to my stack.
What is your stack?
Let's get in there. Not right now. Like let's sit down this path.
Okay.
Because we're on the Momentous Three and it's important to me.
Okay. But you'll tell me.
I will 1,000% would tell you. So I went and I asked all these people, anybody came up and talked to you that was performance driven, right? Meaning like they care about health, fitness, like they're training. They're not like, just like, I need to get healthy. Right. What are the
performance?
I call it performance for life, right? Like how do you do the things you love for longer, right? Over really long periods of time, right? Like me in 20 years, I'm gonna have the same mindset, performance. I want to be able to do things I love for longer. So I would say, what are the top 5 things you give people? What are the top 5 supplements you recommend people? Supplements or sports nutrition or whatever, however you want to take it. Everybody always had 3 of the same in the top 5. And really, most of them had the other 2 the same as well. Every single one of them said protein, omegas, and creatine. And I was like, why? They're like, 10 plus thousand papers, clinically published papers. They have really good short-term and long-term evidence, 0 cross-reactivity, and they're really actually hard to get from your daily diet. You can, like if you eat salmon every day, you're pretty good on omega-3s, right? Protein, you can also get from your diet. And even like some of these people are like, well, protein is not a supplement. Protein is just protein. Like that's a macro.
That's what I was going to say to you.
It doesn't classify in that category. Anyways, I've gone down that rabbit hole with people of like,
I was going to say,
you got to give me 3. You got to give me 3. I have to get 3 things that we do. And so those are the 3. Magnesium was in there and Vit D was in there. But
what was the last one?
Vitamin D.
Oh, vitamin D.
It's like, I believe 3 is a powerful number. Tell somebody 3, master that, and then add on, right? Figure out what your use case is. You have connective tissue health. Are you worried about brain health? Are you worried about focus or stress or cortisol, hormone? Then you start winding down, right? Down the list of like what's important. But like if you haven't built your foundation and you don't continue to care for your foundation, which I consider is the Momentous Three, you can't build a strong house or strong anything on top of it. Right. It all starts with the building blocks, right? Like if you're taking, right, if you're really worried about connective tissue health and you want to take collagen for connective tissue health, but you're not hitting your protein goals, it actually doesn't really matter. hit your protein goals, and then add on top, right? Because protein is a fundamental building block of everything in our body. Collagen has really cool implications for connective tissue health. But again, if you're hitting your protein goals, protein turns into collagen peptides.
Well, I was going to ask you about collagen peptides, because there's a lot of back and forth about this supplement, right?
Yeah.
Because some people say that you can't really get collagen from a supplement. You have to, it's really hard to. What is because you do so much research.
Yeah.
What is the research that you guys found on taking like a collagen supplement?
Collagen has incredible implications around connective tissue health, joints, ligaments, tendons. Not if you take it for 3 weeks, not if you take it for a month. It's like 3 months minimum.
Really?
Right? On it consistently, right? So collagen peptides is essentially like a peptide is just a string of amino acids, right? Protein is a massive string of amino acids.
Right.
And collagen is protein, but right, it like our skin, hair, nails, joints, ligaments, tendons, collagen.
All things, yeah.
Made of collagen, right? And as we age, our ability, right, to naturally produce collagen actually declines in our body.
Yep.
So it makes sense that you would supplement it if you have connective tissue health injuries or questions, or if you're doing something that has massive like if you're a triathlete and you're doing Ironman triathletes, you probably should be taking collagen because you're putting a ton of wear and tear on your body.
So,
right? So I'll go back. Collagen has good research on it.
It does.
Is it like protein research? Is it like creatine research? No, but it has. If you're thinking about connective tissue health, and that is a challenge for you as a human, collagen's a pretty good option. Right on there, but you got to take it consistently. And then there's some really unique things out there. It has to have vitamin C in it. Doesn't have vitamin C in it, not really effective.
Really? Why?
Also, vitamin C is a cofactor. My science guy's gonna crush me. It basically helps. It helps get it to the right places.
Vitamin C does.
Vitamin C does.
Okay.
So you have to have it with vitamin C. You have to take for your connective tissue health. You have to take it pre-loading is the best time. You have to take it before you load your body. So pre-workout is the optimal time, because our joints, tendons, and ligaments don't have a ton of blood flow except for when we're training, right? So even if you're going for a walk, you need to have collagen on before that so it can get delivered, because you need increased blood flow to deliver the nutrients. And number 3 is there's some data that says collagen and caffeine don't go too well together.
Really? Because I drink coffee in the morning.
With your collagen.
Is that not a good thing?
So optimal would be always have it with vitamin C, take it 60 minutes before you load, work out, train, whatever it is, whatever we want to call it, and never take it with caffeine.
Interesting.
Worst thing to do is not take it at all. So if you want to take it with caffeine, if you want to take it post-workout, if you want it's better than not taking it. But to maximize it, there are some tricks.
Right.
Right? Like that right, the literature points to.
Do you make a vitamin C, like a liposomal vitamin C?
No, but we have vitamin C in both our collagen products.
Yeah. I was going to say, because you put the vitamin C in the collagen peptides, which is unique, I think, which is
most people don't.
Yeah, most people don't.
There are a lot of people that do, but a lot of people that don't.
A lot of people, right? That's the whole point, right? This is the reason why I wanted to even have you on this podcast, is to kind of give people the awareness, make them cognizant of the fact that they should be checking their supplements, what supplements they're using, if they're, because not just for the efficacy, but for the all these things we're talking about, like the certifications, that could be, people could be buying air and they have no idea.
No idea.
Right?
No idea.
Which is really scary.
Yeah. So we actually never finished the story about Momentous, how we got to Momentous. So we started building it ourselves. This is all, I love flowing like this. Yeah. We started building it ourselves, and I realized it's really easy, but really hard. And then I was like, we're going to be so disingenuous to our ecosystem, of military, of pro and college sports. If we just launch another Me Too protein brand.
Yeah, right.
Right. And everything that I've done in my philosophy was be at the forefront of high performance, which means do it better than it's ever been done before, work with the best, only have the best products, right? be a challenger and know what you know and know what you don't know. Anyways, so we're like starting to produce these products, like getting down that, and I'm just like, we're doing this wrong. We're doing this wrong. And there's this brand, Momentous, and they were built in NFL and MLB locker rooms by the top dietitians in there of like, let's build the best sports nutrition brand that we all wish we had, all these dietitians. And they built it with this guy, Matt Wan, who's awesome entrepreneur, right? And like built a really cool business. But like my business, Amp Human, Momentous was kind of stuck in this elite performance space. And both brands were struggling to get out. Like they were trying to build a really good sports nutrition brand. I was trying to build a high performance company, right? And we had both these really unique ecosystems. And I knew one of the board members at Momentous. And I was like, hey, we're going to go into this space. Got any recommendations? He's like, dude, you should buy us. And I was like, okay, right? And it was like, then I started thinking, it's like, they've figured out sourcing, they've figured out manufacturing, they figured out certifications, and they already sell and are trusted by all of our customers for PR lotion. This is a pretty authentic fit. They have a huge TAM, right? We are disruptors, and we have this like crazy network. Like people want to work with us because we're doing it so differently. Like that was part of the draw.
Right.
And so what if we smash the two together? Could we create a human performance company, which is a shift from high performance? So the goal became, how do you democratize high performance and turn it into human performance? Because high performance is what happens in the NFL. Human performance is what you and I do every day. We're performing as humans.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
no, it's I didn't even think about that. You're right. Like
so it's
high performance to human performance, because we're doing something very different than like the NFL.
And when you seek high performance, it's really interesting. High performers sacrifice health. As a football player, to be great at football,
So true. Well,
right? Honestly, to be really great at anything, like to be a great executive, you have to sacrifice things that are really good for you long term. You just do. Like to be great, there's a cost. There's a session cost, right? To be great. Anyway, so.
you know what though? That is so true. Like I wanted to think about that, because people automatically assume, like if you think high performance, that they're like hitting every stride perfectly because they're a high performer. But the truth is, if you really think about it, to be a high performer, you are sacrificing a lot of things like sleep, eating, like because you don't have like
I hit my head for a living. Guess what? I know that's terrible.
exactly to be the best football player. You're going to have to do some really bad things to yourself.
Yep.
So that's interesting how you went from the high performance to the human performance. So different, but so accurate.
But it's how do you democratize the best things that are happening here and bringing them to consumers? So anyways, we smashed these two companies together. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, still in my life. Most challenging. I went through crazy investor dynamics and board dynamics of like, we did an all equity deal, right? Two different companies, two different cultures, and it was really hard.
How much did you raise?
We didn't raise it. We did an all equity deal.
All equity deal.
So we just, all their shareholders got shares in my business.
Wow.
And it was pretty close to a merger of equals. And that was part of the challenge too, is like everybody like, well, our way was the best. No, our way was the best. And I'm like, both ways are bullshit. We're doing something different, right? Like it took me about 9 months to like actually for me and Erica to be like, hey, we're trying to blend two companies together and two cultures and all this. And it's like, bullshit, put a stake in the ground. We get to make the decision. And that was part of our challenge, is like, because we let it like young leaders in the business, like we like had really great boards on both sides and powerful people involved, and we let the tail wag us a little bit.
Yeah.
And therefore they're like, no, this is how it should be done. No, this is how it should be done. And ultimately at like 9 months, Eric and I were like, we're doing it our way now. This is the way. Like if you try to blend two cultures, you have no culture. If you try to be two things, you have nothing, right? It's like, this is the way forward. And it's like, it was hard as a leader to realize like how I'd done it before didn't matter, How they want to do it doesn't matter, right? Be definitive in what you do, because that's ultimately what matters. People crave direction. I don't need to please everybody. What I'm doing is not for everybody. My team and my culture, Erica and my team and my culture is not for everybody. And that's okay. Right?
That's
But it's
so
hard.
true. I
It's
love
hard
it.
to realize that, right? And it's also really hard when you take two companies and merge them together and you're really small still, to be like, how can we live without a person? Do we, like, we really need that person. That person's good, right?
Right.
Right. It's like we only have 11 spots on the team. And if you lose one, that's almost 10%. Like, do we have, now we're in a different place where it's like you can make decisions like that because we have 55, 60 people now.
Yeah.
Right. Anyways, so we
No, I
acquired,
love that.
yeah,
That's actually a good story. I
we
love
acquired
that.
this brand, right? And that's how we became Momentous. Well, we originally wanted to keep our original name, Amp Human.
Amp Human.
Turns out we had some trademark challenges. Mountain Dew owns the trademark for Amp.
Really?
In like all energy drinks, sports drinks, all of that category. And then GNC had a product line called Amped, A like comma D.
Oh, really?
And it was like, well, we don't get to be Amp Human anymore. We are now Momentous. And it was 100% the right move. I'm glad trademark attorney forced our hand, because we probably would have made the wrong decision.
Right.
Momentous is aspirational, means something, right? Like it can be built upon. It was like Amp Human was just a stupid name that I picked, right, whatever. So we smashed those two companies together, basically post that, we're about a $5 million combined business. Before that, it was like 3 million and 2 million. And we were that same size for about 12 months afterwards. And then we just, what we did was important.
What was the first product, though?
Oh, the first
The
product,
hydrate. You said
the first product that Amp Human was building. So Momentous had protein, they had plant and whey, they had collagen, they had creatine, they had just launched an Omega, a brain drive, and a product called Elite Sleep.
But you also had the hydrate product.
So Amp Human was working on three products before we bought them.
Okay.
And all three of those products were too far in production when we made the acquisition. So we had a recovery product.
Right.
That we never launched.
Yeah, you didn't like that one.
Well, they just had a better product.
Okay.
The Momentous brand had a better product.
Yeah, good. Okay. You're very honest, like very like self-aware. It's like you have no shame about saying these things, which is so great for transparency, right? Because people
it's hard. You. Yeah, you learn. I learned as an athlete, if you can't be open with yourself on like how you did, it's really hard to grow.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyways, thank you for saying that.
The
so we had this recovery where there is one human being that uses recovery in this world, Amp Human Recovery. I've got 3 things left of the entire production run. Over the last 4 years, I've been using the entire production run because I'm just like, there's nothing wrong with it. We spent a lot of money on it. Write it off the books. I'll consume it.
Okay, so what is it you said?
It's recovery. So it's recovery that I'm almost done with. I never have to use again on it. And it's just like protein and carbs. It's a good product, but it's not a great product.
So you're just going to keep on using it. That's
hilarious. I'm almost done. I'm like 3 months away from never having to do
consume it again.
And it's on like this just disgusting looking packaging. It's like
that's hilarious
on it. So, and people on the team are like, I was like,
damn right,
I paid for it. I paid for it. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not our consumer product.
Okay.
Right. So then we had a hydrate product, which was just electrolytes. Like, so
kind of like, what's that thing?
Liquid ID, the element, all of those things. So a non-sugar, and then we had a fuel, which is an intro workout, carbohydrate and electrolytes. We still have fuel. Fuel is the only one.
But why not the electrolyte? That's like super popular right now.
It's coming. We're relaunching.
Oh, okay.
So we had hydrate and we had fuel. And part of the challenge that we had when we put the two businesses together is we had working capital challenges. We had like SKU management, team and all of that. And we just had to like make some decisions. And it was like hydrate sales were whatever. They weren't great. They weren't bad. It was like easy kill.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so we just did one production run and just moved on that. And now we're in product development again to build a similar product, but better. But the fuel product is the same product we launched with.
And that one was what?
Fuel is carbohydrates and electrolytes.
Electrolytes.
So think of it. So we designed hydrate to be everyday hydration.
Yeah.
Or 60 minutes or less of exercise. So if you're training for 60 minutes or less, likelihood is you're not burning through your glycogen stores. And when you train for 60 minutes or more, your glycogen stores get depleted and you have to replenish those with glucose, sugar, right? And so for 60-minute plus long bouts of exercise, hiking, you name it, you need to onboard carbohydrates, just normal, endurance athletes, etc. If you don't, you end up bonking, or you have to be keto adapted, which means you can convert, right, fat and protein into glycogen pretty effectively.
Right. Those are all those are like still there, and you're now doing this hydrate again.
Yeah. So fuel is there. Fuel is one of our best kept secrets in the portfolio. One of our top sellers in pro and college sports. Like, it's really cool.
Really.
It's really well designed. Think of it as like Gatorade that's designed with today's science.
Yeah. Really? Okay, but wait, let's go back to your stack. I want to know what.
Okay, my
because
stack.
you don't take a lot of stuff.
I don't take a ton of stuff. I am religious about the Momentous Three. And there's a big reason why. Two things in the Momentous Three, omegas and creatine, are very tied to brain health. So if I take a step back and say, okay, what I've done and where am I going? I'm really concerned about brain health.
Because of your background.
Because of my background, right? And family history, right? In there. So like, I played a contact sport. I had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of micro concussive hits, subconcussive events. And right, I have a family history of dementia and Alzheimer's. Like, so I need to stack the deck as much as I can. Creatine and omegas have awesome data around long-term brain health. Awesome.
Does it matter where you're getting your omega-3 source from? Because to me, that's very important too. And that's why, to me, there's certain things that you have to be diligent on the brand that you use.
So
that's one of them.
So protein's super interesting. It's like, protein is kind of protein. There are different levels of protein, et cetera, but it's a fundamental macro. And like, if you're buying 20 grams of whey protein, you're getting roughly 20 grams of protein. Omega-3s, right? The difference in the category is as wide as the Grand Canyon and as deep as the Grand Canyon. It is insane.
Yeah.
Right? So number one is about 1.5 grams of EPA DHA, which are the two omega-3s that matter, is about the clinically efficacious dose a day, which is a lot of omega-3s, which is a lot of that, right? Now fish oil, I'm not saying fish oil, because fish oil is not the same as omega-3. Fish oil does have omega-3 in it, but you can buy a fish oil that has very little omega-3 in it, that has a lot of grams of fish oil, which is just oil from fish. And then where you source omega-3s from, what types of fish you get it from matter. Fish carry heavy metals. So what do you want? Super low on the food chain. Also how you process it, right? Like, high heat kills a lot of stuff. Not so good, right? Like, our capsules are kind of amberish. Why? Because if they're clear and opaque, it allows for oxidation, right? Which means they can go rancid, right? Like, so there's all these things in fish oil. There are some really great omega-3 companies out there. Really great. I'll put our omega-3 up against any omega-3 that's on the market. We've decided to be great. We know what port in Norway it comes from.
Really?
Right? We know exactly what port it comes from. Like, right, fish.
Do you have high EPA and DHA in them?
Yep, we have 800 milligrams of both in one serving. So in 2 capsules, we have 1.6 grams of omega-3s.
Which is good.
1.6 gram capsule.
So listen, that's interesting. So people who are listening to this, so if you're buying a fish oil, you have to make sure you have the right, you have a high DHA and an EPA.
EPA, yeah.
And because otherwise it could just be oil from a fish. Which does nothing for you,
yes.
Right? So that's interesting. And so
a lot of things you'll say, oh, you'll see fish oil, 1.5 grams. You'll see omega-3s, right? 500 milligrams. You'll see DHA, or no, you say omegas because there's omega-6s and omega-3s. And like, because like you could have the third omega-3,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which we don't need.
We don't need.
Right on there. So like it's
Super important.
It's a Wild West, and always sourced from small fish. Always sourced from small sardines, mackerels, right? Like the bigger fish, the problem. And if they don't say where it's sourced from, you should ask.
How about algae? I heard that's also a very good source.
Algae is super interesting. So we are launching a vegan omega-3 based on algae. It's really expensive, for the record, and it's hard to get. So we're launching the most DHA, EPA potent vegan omega-3 that's on the market.
When does that come out?
Yeah, end of June.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, because why is that more expensive than doing it the fish way? Like the non-vegan way?
Omega-3s from fish, like it's a byproduct.
It's easy to get.
Right? It's not
but
that
algae,
hard.
you gotta like
You gotta grow,
extract it,
and there's not a big market for like when you think about like collagen. Collagen is a byproduct of meat processing.
Yeah.
Right? Tons of it, right? And when you can get a byproduct that like in a huge market, like readily accessible demand, whereas like algae, you got to grow the algae. It's got to be a special type of algae. You got to like how you process it. It's just different, right? On there. So like manufacturing and demand is low. Like if supply is really high and demand is really high, like, right. Or if supply is really ready, like you can get things for cheap, like omega-3s, right? Quality matters, but you can get them fair. But like a vegan omega to like meet the standards we had of like EPA and DHA and the combo of 1-to-1 like was hard. Like, we had to work pretty hard with manufacturing on that.
What about beef tallow? That's another big.
Beef tallow is like another interesting one.
Yeah.
Like it's just, yeah.
It's very popular right now. I'm hearing a lot about beef tallow. People are sending me a lot of stuff with beef tallow.
It's just beef fat.
It's just beef fat, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, like natural fat sources from animals, from whatever, are better than synthetic fat sources.
Yes.
Always. And the more you have to process a fat, probably not better. Not for you, maybe slightly worse, right? Like there's a lot of talk about seed oils, and I don't have a stance on that. I just like, hey, you should be eating more whole foods, less processed foods, which means less seed oils. Like all of it builds up. But also, you know what? Sugar is not great if you're sedentary, but like having carbohydrates is not the devil if you train hard.
Right. I think it's a lot about it's common sense and not extreme, right?
Yeah.
Like even the fact that here you are, you're a founder of a major supplement company, and you're like, listen, take your creatine and take your omega-3 and your protein, which I think is still a nutrient, but nevertheless, and you'll be good.
It is a nutrient.
Like it's a nutrient, but I'm saying like you're not like all these other products are as a great supplement, like it's a great add-on.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the foundation, who cares? So then go back to your stack.
My stack.
Okay.
So I have that. I'm pretty consistent on collagen because I played pro football.
Yeah.
I'm a big man and I like to push myself on that. And then
How do you do it in your shake?
we have a collagen shot that's really easy that I just take before I work out. I train mostly in the morning, right? You just it's like a little gel shot and you just hit it. Which is super cool.
Never tried it.
We actually won a government innovation contract, an $800,000 contract to help develop that product. Wow. And we have another cool product that we're working on that was part of that grant, which is cool. Anyways, in that realm of like connective tissue health.
That's great.
I am very religious about turmeric, and some people will be like, oh, no turmeric, but inflammation is real in my life. Like again,
Right. So you're taking turmeric for your inflammation.
For my inflammation.
Yeah.
And it's super interesting. You talk to some of like the pro sports dietitians and they're like, oh, we won't use turmeric. Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's too good. Because the inflammation response is really important when you think about adaptation, right? And so when you train really hard, if you don't you create an inflammation response in your muscles.
Yeah.
And that inflammation response is what ultimately is creating the adaptation for your muscles to build back stronger and faster.
Interesting.
And so they don't give their athletes turmeric unless they're injured or have some challenge, right? For me, I don't give two shits about adaptation, right? Like I'm not trying to run faster. I'm not trying to get stronger. I actually would like to get less strong, right? Like it's like
you want to be less strong.
if I lift weights, I just get like,
Yeah.
part of me being a genetic mutant, being
Yeah,
in the
you
NFL, is
are.
like,
You're
I just
huge.
lift a little bit of weights and I'm just like,
It's
you know,
true.
right? Like, it's what made me able to be a great NFL player. It's like, hey, let's start squatting a little bit. And it's like, Jeff, you don't fit in your pants anymore. You've been squatting for 3 weeks. I'm like, it's my problem. It's like, it's my curse, right? Like, well, anyways.
I love that. So funny.
So I like, that's why I take turmeric. Inflammation and management inflammation is super important to me.
Okay.
I take our multivitamin, and I do that because I'm on the road a ton, and it's a very comprehensive multivitamin that is powerful to me.
I take the multivitamin too, and I wasn't sure why, because there's so much, again, controversy over like, do you need a multivitamin? Blah blah blah.
I think you need to be careful on multivitamins, because at the end of the day, the right amount of things matter in things, right?
So
And
get your blood
right,
tested.
blood tested, but also like, if it's a compressed capsule, really hard to digest, right? Like, we have our multi is a 4 cap, like, it's not small, it's 4 big caps. And why? To get the right doses of the things that we cared about in it, it had to be 4 capsules. And we didn't want to do a compressed tablet because the efficacy on compressed tablets are lower, et cetera, or a gummy that has nothing in it. So it's like, we just made the Rolls Royce of a multivitamin, right?
Wow.
Right. And a multivitamin to me, right, I travel a ton. Like, it just is it's my cover my basis. Like, I would not recommend it. Like, a lot of people take multivitamin, but like, it's not where I would start. I'm I'm very religious about Vit D, because I always test low on
Really?
Vit D.
Talk about that. I wanted to talk to you about like hormones and testosterone and all these things.
Yeah.
Isn't that the product that you guys, isn't that product?
Vitamin D.
Oh, vitamin D.
Vit D. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because you have another product. Vitamin D, of course,
Yes.
everybody always takes vitamin D is like kind of like become like it's very,
A lot of people are
very,
deficient.
everyone's deficient, and that kind of feel like everyone now just takes vitamin D. But now to access, like if now when I got my blood tested,
Yeah.
I'm now too high in vitamin D. But you call it, what do you call
Vit
it?
D.
Vit
I
D,
just
yeah,
call
yeah.
it Vit D.
Okay, that's why I'm like, what are
I'm
you
just
talking
abbreviating.
about?
You're
Okay.
good.
But now the problem is a lot of people are taking it too much now.
Yeah, 100%. Right, because you can take a lot. Like, it's
Yeah.
easy to take 20,000 micrograms.
Even if you're taking 5,000 a day,
Yeah.
which is I think
Is like the
norm.
yeah.
If you're taking that every single day for a very long period of time, you could
Test, right? That's again, like, you can just test for it. It's not that hard.
test every single. That's why it's important, because
Blood
people
work.
are now taking, like, even like, people said I was low in vitamin B. So I started taking vitamin B, and now I'm too low and now I'm too high in vitamin B. It's very important to be very on top of getting your blood tested, because then you could be taking too much of something, which is also hazardous.
100%. So always, like, that's the thing with a lot of these other things, you should just test.
Yeah.
Right? Like Vit D, magnesium, like, most people are deficient in magnesium, but it's easy to test for it. Again, like, it's not that, like,
You take magnesium too.
I don't take magnesium very often. So, and then then I go into like, what do I take occasionally? Our sleep pack, I take when I travel.
Why?
Because I sleep really good at home. I don't have any challenges sleeping.
But when you travel, you sleep badly.
Different environments. I also, when I travel, I don't have the same environment that sets me up to be successful.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Right? Like, I know, like,
I think a lot of people are like that.
when I travel, like last night, slept in a hotel. I worked to the second I went to that I started to go to sleep, like, which was like 9:30, which is not optimal. When I'm at home, like, I get to talk to my wife, and we get to relax, we get to sauna, we get to do whatever we want. Like, it's like much more of a process and a routine. And like, you have like the same place I worked for the last 3 hours is 3 feet from my bed.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so it's like, okay, I need to help downregulate, which is what Sleep Pack does, and I need to increase the quality of sleep.
What's in it?
L-theanine, apigenin, and magthreonate. And so L-theanine and apigenin, apigenin is just like, it's what's found in chamomile tea or grapefruit, and it helps you downregulate, right? Same with L-theanine, downregulate, found in tea as well. To like, how do you like, right? Everything we do upregulates us. Work, TV, screens, upright.
Everything.
Like, how do we downregulate so that we can get to sleep and have higher quality sleep? The magnesium threonate is it is the only form of magnesium that can cross the blood-brain barrier. And magnesium can help, right, increase your quality of sleep, but also just at night, a lot of really cool things happen to your brain, right? And
Yes.
having magnesium on board appears to be very beneficial for that. So I take that when I travel.
And it works.
It works. And I take when I jump time zones. So not when I come to LA, when I'm going to like New York or something, or I take our product called Elite Sleep. And Elite Sleep was designed in correlation with an MLB team that helped them jump time zones. And so Elite Sleep has melatonin in it and tart cherry. And I'm not like, I do not believe melatonin should be taken regularly. I think it should be taken very infrequently.
Yeah.
Melatonin helps you reset your circadian rhythm, right? And so when you jump a time zone or multiple time zones,
It's good for that.
like that's what it's built for. That's what
Right.
our body naturally does. And so it helps switch that time zone so that you can get on that time
How long
zone.
do you take it for?
Oh, I if I'm like going to New York and I'm in New York Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I take it Tuesday night and Wednesday night.
Oh, you do take it. Okay.
And then but if
Could your body get adapted to these things, like the sleep one, or
Sleep Pack, no. That's what's really cool about Sleep Pack and why it is what it is it's all natural, non-habit forming. Like people have an impact on it. Melatonin, 1,000% is habit forming.
Yeah. I'm not a big melatonin person.
The more you take it, the more you need, right?
Yeah.
And then it becomes really hard because melatonin is just a hormone in our body, essentially. Yeah. And then you need it, and your body stops producing it, right? It's
right.
So I take that spotty. I also take our adaptogens, rhodiola and ashwagandha.
I love rhodiola. It's like it's kind of like the Adderall that's natural, isn't it? That's kind of like a natural Adderall.
It helps you regulate cortisol and stress, essentially.
Oh, I also think it gives you focus.
Yeah, that's that's part of it, right? But I use it as when I'm in crazy heavy training blocks, or when I'm in really, really stressful times, because it helps you in those moments.
Yeah.
And so that's how I use adaptogens. I probably use 5 times a month. I use that stack.
Right. So really? So you're not using it every single day?
I personally don't because I don't find I need it every day.
Right. The ones you take every day is the creatine, the omegas,
right?
Protein.
I mean, I take
and collagen.
5 scoops of protein, collagen, multivitamin D.
Yeah, vitamin D. You call it Vit D.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vit D.
Can we talk about the whole testosterone thing for a second and hormones?
Yep.
Because you had a product, I thought, that was like a natural.
We have Tongat Ali.
That's right. I can never pronounce it.
Yeah. Nobody can.
What's it called?
Tongat Ali. It's TONGKAT, and it has 6 words posted that it's a root of an herb, plant, shrub.
And does it work?
The data suggests it does. From a testosterone perspective, it has really cool implications around testosterone. And for us, we built that product with Dr. Huberman, but hormones and testosterone plays such an important role, and testosterone levels are a real challenge. Mm-hmm. And when we think about our product philosophy is the 80-20 rule. Let's have the 20% that drives 80% of the value. And if people are thinking about, I need to help my hormones, my testosterone levels, how do you give them something that's not testosterone replacement therapy, TRT or whatever?
Right.
Okay, there's a herb that's been around for a long time, tested. There's not a crap ton of research on it, but there's enough to say, hey, this has some cool testosterone implications, and people will use it, see cool testosterone results. But again, it's still progressing. We had another product on the market called Fedosia, right? That had early data around testosterone, but the data stopped progressing, and we pulled it from the market last year because it wasn't up to our snuff in terms of efficacy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So the testosterone, the reason why I'm asking about hormones is because we talk about it a lot on this podcast and off the podcast with my friends. And there's been such an incline in people who are now taking testosterone very young, like
Yeah.
in their like 30s. And once you're on that train, you're on that
You're
train.
on that train.
You know? And so, and what's other, I mean, yes, we all know like, oh, you lift heavy weights and you do this, it helps, boost your testosterone, but not that much, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's not going to like get you from as a man, it's not going to get you from 200 to 800.
Yeah.
Not happening. But so like, would you say if they started taking like this natural testosterone, it would be helpful? Or what are
Yes.
other things that you've seen in the market that
There's a lot of hormone crap out there.
that's exact, and it's the biggest market right now.
It's really big. And hormones was a tough one for me to go in because it's not something I naturally see. I'm naturally super low in T.
Oh,
Partially has to do with brain injury.
really?
Yeah. So
There's a correlation between
yeah,
brain
so
health?
a lot of guys in the NFL are low in T because of brain injury. The brain controls everything,
Everything,
right?
yeah.
Like it's not shock. Like when you kind of, anyways.
Yeah, I
So-
guess that's true. So I guess because your brain is in control
Yeah.
of everything. So
and
that's
testosterone is like the main hormone in males, right?
it's really interesting because as a football player, you would never think that these guys would be low in testosterone, but they are.
Yeah, they are. A lot of guys get prescribed T,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
On there. Anyway, so to me, nothing like Fedoja, a lot of people believe do a lot of great things for testosterone. The clinical data that we've seen,
Yeah.
to me, does not warrant it to be in our product portfolio, which means it does not have a big enough
An
impact,
impact. Okay.
right, to do it. Currently, Tongat Ali does, right? There are 20 other things that you could do. Zinc is really good for hormone health,
Oh,
right? On there. But anyway, so there's like a lot.
Zinc?
Zinc, yep. Zinc has a lot of implications around testosterone, men and women.
oh,
like,
interesting. Okay.
on there. So like I believe a lot of hormone health has to do with lifestyle, behaviors, diet, right? Like you got to stack them in the right, but like 100% should be thinking about natural things before you go to TRT. TRT should be like the very, very last
Yeah.
resort,
100%.
right? And that's, to me, is like, so I have low T, I'm not ready to get in that train.
Good.
So
Don't get on that
I
train.
used to take it.
How old are you?
I turned 40 this year.
Oh, yeah, you're still young.
Yeah, I'm
though,
still just a babe.
Yeah. Don't be taking it at 40, please.
My stack normally includes Tongat. I get to test on myself.
Yeah.
Right. I do blood work almost every 3 months.
Good for you.
I can, right? Like, because we know the companies that do blood
Yeah.
work, right? And everybody, like, I'm just like constantly, let's add something, let's remove something, like what's happening.
Right. So
in it.
you're on top of it, which is so good.
It's cool. It's fun. Like, it's part of the perk of running a high performance company.
Yeah,
or human
exactly.
performance company.
So what did you see your numbers go from?
So I was on it. I saw my numbers go up, but I changed a lot. So what I'm testing is keeping a lot of things similar. All I did was remove Tonkat. And my next test should be next month. And I want to see what my T numbers look like.
Wow.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And then, right. Cause during that time when I started taking it, I saw my numbers increase, but a lot changed. Like I was in a crazy stressful time in my life.
Right.
I wasn't training as much as I wanted to and all that when I started taking it. So like I started from like being like not doing anything right to like, I just like made a big shift and a lot of things changed in my life at the right time to allow me to focus on the things that I know drive testosterone. And so I'm like, okay, I made a significant jump, like a big jump.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's pull it out
And see
and
what
then
happens.
and see what happens. And then let's add it back in, because a lot of the things, not everything works for everybody, right? Our bodies process things different.
Yeah.
We have different, and we're all little ends of ones for the most part. And there's also like, you could have started taking Tongat and everything else went south.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you maintained, and it's like, well, you should have fallen. Or you, could have taken Tongat and it went up and you did everything right. And nothing had to do with Tongat, right? Like,
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think it's not a one, like not everything's fits, like one size fits all,
Yeah.
right? By the way, you're like moving around, but I am too, because we've been sitting here for like over 2 hours. It's
I love
so
it.
uncomfortable.
Ugh.
Like, I mean, because it's like you sit so long, you're like, oh my God, my legs falling
Yeah.
asleep. And Okay, so we're going to wrap this. So Jeff, thank you for being on the show, by
Yeah.
the way. Like, I love your story about Momentous, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, but I really love your products. I
Thank
think
you.
that they are so high quality. You do everything right, your company, you guys do. And like I said, I just wanted people to be mindful of like what they're getting, because supplements are so massively
Yeah.
popular. And so if they don't want to buy Momentous and they think it's not great, that's, they're crazy. No, but
There's other great
there's
brands out
other
there.
great brands. But
There
I'm just
are.
saying, of course, I'm just saying, like, you know what? Just make sure that these like what you're using is actually getting what you're buying,
Yeah.
and that they're doing safe things. I think that's the biggest thing, right?
Yep. 100%. And so for me, like, if you don't know why you take something, you shouldn't take it.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And the process that, like, when people come in, I'm like, write down the most important things for you.
Yeah, so
Long-term health.
true.
If you can't point to what you're taking and doing to those things, then you should probably stop doing those things.
Totally.
Right. And you should reassess, like, hey, if I like, go back to the basics, go back to the foundation and master those. That's so important. So
Yeah.
anyways, like, and most of us, like, I get the luxury to take creatine, omegas, protein, as much protein as I want, collagen, all these things. It's because I have, like, if I had $100 to spend a month or $200 to spend a month on this category, I would rethink what I do. Right. I also could take everything.
And you don't, though.
And I don't, because it's not sustainable. Like, if I try to take everything, I'll take nothing. Like, we'll be like, not gonna, whatever. Right.
I think there's people are taking like handfuls. Like, look at Brian Johnson. He's taking like 75 pills every hour on the hour.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he wants to live to 175 or to whatever. I mean, watch him drop dead at 60. I mean, I'm just saying that as, but I think you can only do so much. Like, these are all supplemental to your daily habits.
You have to be happy. You can't change your life around supplements or whatever. Like, the whole goal of living a long, healthy life is to be happy. Right. And have more joy and have a bigger impact in the world. If all you do is like meticulously counting pills on the minute, right? Like,
it's crazy.
Oh, I can't go out and have fun with my friends every once in a while because I need to be in bed by 9 o'clock. And it's like, well, guess what? Like a third of the equation, it's like, fitness and sleep, diet and supplements. And then there's this community piece.
Huge. That's the biggest piece. Right. And like all the research has shown, that community piece, having friends, will keep you alive way longer than any supplement on the planet.
Yeah.
And so if you're not taking care of that to me is the most basic fundamental.
But that's why we exist as humans.
Yeah, but people don't.
To be community beings,
100%.
Right? We overlook it. So it's like, if you're doing, like, you have to do fitness. Like, for me, what I love about fitness is I can make it community.
Yeah, you can work out with your friends. You can do like activity.
Yeah.
That's how and that's how the world is changing now.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be cool. Like, right? Like, they're doing all these like things, like run clubs is like an easy one, but like they're doing these things where like you're doing like fitness activities or becoming like the Running Mans of the world and all the things. But
anyways,
no, but thank you. And
you're very welcome.
And everyone go buy Momentous.
Yeah.
Bye.